Here on Flow FM, we're joined by the NatRoad CEO, Warren Clark. Warren, welcome to Flow. Thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure and good morning.
Now, just give us a bit of a background on NatRoad. What is it that your body represents?
Okay, so our body is a national organisation with members in every state and territory across the country. And our members are the trucking businesses, the operators, the people who employ tens of thousands of people across this country and keep the country moving.
It's been an incredibly challenging year across this year, not just because of the flooding we've got at the moment, but even earlier in the year where at one stage the west and the east were somewhat cut off. Has it highlighted the need for good infrastructure investment across the country?
Oh, look, I think the infrastructure at the present time is absolutely stretched to the limit. They don't really understand the level of devastation and destruction that's happened. It's impacting our industry, it's impacting the businesses, it's impacting a lot of these rural and regional areas. So there's millions and millions of dollars that's going to have to be spent across this country to get it back to normal.
Now, I know we were going to talk about also law reform that you're pursuing, but just on the labour front, there has been an incredible struggle for the industry getting the drivers it needs. Is there any relief on the horizon on that front?
Well, you know, there's a few long-term solutions and there's short-term solutions. At this stage, you know, we've been pushing hard to get this addressed. It's an issue that the government has to address. They brought in they're looking at bringing an apprenticeship, which is a long-term solution. But look, we need immediate action on drivers right now. We've got about 25 to 28,000 positions vacant in transport on Seek as we speak. It's a major issue in our industry, and if we can't get drivers in to drive the vehicles, we're going to have a problem across the country.
Yeah, we certainly felt that strain, particularly earlier in the year with COVID and inability to get parcels and other freight where it needed to get to. But those were some of the pressing immediate concerns when things aren't handled properly. Looking at the longer term, the legislative reform that you're looking for, what are you hoping will change when it comes to heavy transport?
When it comes to employment, I think, look, immediately we've got to try and start to source drivers from overseas, and with that comes a whole raft of reform through migration. But, you know, there's a lot of drivers overseas that are able to come in and pick up the jobs as long as they're adequately trained. So there's another issue of training. So there's quite a few issues that have got to be addressed. And in particular, the heavy vehicle national law that they're reviewing at the present time. So all these things together make a better industry for people to come into and stay in.
Has it been a positive development from your point of view that B-triples have been what do you call it, the regulations somewhat been opened up so we could see more of them on the roads when we did have tightening when it came to ability to get things from A to B?
Look, I think when you look at that, our industry is all about better performance, greater efficiency, less trucks on the road, etc. Right? And when you open up the roads to high-performance vehicles, everyone wins. I know people get a little bit scared when you see a B-triple coming down the road, but these vehicles are generally safer, they've got newer technology, they're newer vehicles, and they've generally got their best drivers in these vehicles. So for everyone, that's a win.
Yeah, and I noticed going forward, and there has been some promotion of the latest models of electric trucks. Some elements of the trucking industry have been talking this up as part of the future. Just when it comes to electric vehicles and indeed the fuel needs of the industry, where are we heading?
Well, we're heading where the rest of the world's heading. Australia obviously is a different country to anywhere else. We've got massive distances. We've got massive issues about infrastructure spend. So, you know, it's all very well and good for governments to be calling for electrification or alternate fuels. And we know we're heading that way. We're not opposed to it. But the transition is the key thing that's got to be handled well here. So our industry is a long way away from having electric vehicles across the country. You'll see them move into metropolitan areas where they can be charged and they can be, you know, back to base at night and all these sort of things. But if you're talking about Adelaide to Darwin, I think diesel's around for quite some time.
Yeah, most likely. When it comes to those areas of legislative reform, we've mentioned those heavier vehicles, the B-triples, there's sort of a dual thing, isn't there? The funding and expenditure needs to happen to improve the roads so that those heavier vehicles can go on other routes. Is there a legislative requirement that needs changing as well to accommodate that?
Well, a lot of these road rules are obviously from the road managers and who owns the road. So you've got federal, state, and you've got local government, right? Now, a lot of the main routes can be adapted to take these high-performance vehicles, but there is infrastructure that has to be spent in certain, freeways and certain motorways that needs to happen, like bridge upgrades and things like that. So it's not so much about changing the legislation to allow high-performance vehicles. It's about actually getting better access routes for these vehicles, getting them designated, and actually getting them on the roads moving around the country.
You mentioned like potentially millions and millions. Some people are estimating might be $1 billion in road repair needed after flooding in New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, even parts of Queensland. Is there a concerted push across the transport industry to lobby the government to get on with spending that, or do you think they're just going to do it regardless?
Look, I know that Transport is talking to the government. I sat on a meeting yesterday where we talked about, the dire need for infrastructure spend, just to bring it back to where it's been. We've still got parts of the country that are under flood around Mildura. They don't truly understand the damage that's been done, but Transport is working very closely with state and federal government to ensure that the roads that, high priority general roads get done as quickly as possible.
And absolutely, of the subject of safety around high performance vehicles, trucks on the roads, there have been pushes from, say, the agricultural sector to make sure people are playing it safe when they're driving not only around farm machinery but trucks that are moving goods to harvest, particularly over the Christmas period. Imagine you're on board with that road safety message.
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, our industry, it can be quite a dangerous industry, but drivers, I mean, look, those guys just want to get home safely. They don't want to see any damage in the public. And if they've got the equipment and the infrastructure to make their job easier and safer for them and the public, our industry is 100% behind that.
Warren Clark, CEO of NatRoad, representing the trucking sector and transport industry. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great Christmas.
Okay, thank you for your time.